Morning, everybody. How's it going?
We're back. It's Friday.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Drew. How's it
And
going?
there's a lot of beer and booze here in front of us. So
I know.
Can that be a bad Friday?
I've been holding off a long time, so.
That was quick. What do you mean holding off a long time? It was like 10 seconds
Hey,
into the
put it
show.
in front of me.
I've
It's
been holding
cold.
off this whole show. 10 seconds is a crack.
18th Street Brewery's in the house. And
Yes, and
Drew,
you have?
I am drinking the vodka, soda, and lime.
One of their newest creations, right,
Whoa,
Drew?
can I get one of those?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Drew,
man.
Drew, I think we have enough for the show. Well, maybe. We'll find out if we survive.
Drew, that's very good. I like that a lot.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Shouldn't be doing that.
Thanks
but,
for coming,
you know,
man.
Yeah.
That's
Appreciate
all right.
it.
It's a podcast. You can do whatever
Yeah.
you want, pretty
Yeah.
much.
That's early. 7:30.
But, like,
Drink your first vodka,
for
lime,
the
and
record,
soda.
I have a
Ooh,
very...
that's good.
We all
It
have
is
bad
good,
habits.
right?
Yeah.
It's got lime in there?
Oh, yeah.
That's real good. What'd you... I know we're
It's
gonna
like
get into
carbonated.
this. I know we're gonna get into this in a minute.
This is like when Joe Rogan got Elon to smoke weed.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's about as far as we
And
can
he
go.
didn't know how
Yes.
to smoke weed.
No.
Yeah.
No, he did not.
Terrible.
Really? Who did? Elon? Elon
No.
did.
No.
Yeah.
The way he held
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You could tell. You could tell.
Drew's like, that's not my
No.
take.
No, you
No.
could tell, like the way people hold it, like
Yeah.
they hold it, or
Not-
they
not
look
right into my
uncomfortable.
team.
You gotta look comfortable when you're, you know.
Yeah, I'd probably be more like Elon Musk, I think.
No doubt about it. You'd be like Elon Musk,
So 60 seconds in, we've cracked open alcohol. We're
and started
talking
talking
about
about weed.
And Elon Musk.
This is gonna be a
It's gonna
different
be one
type
of those
show.
shows
It is. Yeah.
for Friday. Well, it's really an honor to have
Drew,
Drew
like
Fox
I'm gonna
with
start
us.
off with a question right off the bat, since we're talking about it. What's your position on marijuana? I mean, do you mind? I mean,
I live
CEO.
in, I live in a legalized
that's right. You live in
state,
Chicago, right?
so
Right.
Yeah.
there's my position.
You can go buy it if you want to.
There's legal
I have
weed.
a lot
like
of friends who own dispensaries.
Really?
So
Really?
Nice.
It's good to
So-
know.
I wish Indiana was there, and
It's
I
going to
wish
happen
'cause
in Indiana.
eventually, once the federal government does it, like Indiana's gonna be the last.
It'll be like
state.
state number 42 or something.
We'll be suing the federal government to prevent it.
Someone will be looking for extra income in the state, so it's going to happen eventually.
I tell you, I think it's great what's going on in Illinois, and then to see, like, you know, obviously you have young African American professionals running a lot of dispensaries. You got young people running a lot of dispensaries,
Yep.
and it's just really cool to see that. To me, like. You see people lined up to get into a store, and then, you know, here we are in Indiana. Like, no, we're not doing that.
No, I went to dinner last night with my wife and my boy, and we went. We're in Fullerton, and we went past Mocha, which is a really popular dispensary, and there was a line out the door.
Yeah,
Wow.
right.
And I was like, well, you know, again, you can fight it with, you know, federal tax dollars, state tax dollars, or you can just say, hey, let's legalize it,
Right.
and tax the hell out of it.
Yeah,
That's
and then if
exactly
we
right.
have
It
problems,
worked
we
for
have some money
cigarettes.
to be able to. But like
Works
same
for
thing.
cigarettes, works for liquor, works for, you know.
I'm telling you, I've been by the Homewood store a couple times just doing research. Of course, you know, I'm an elected official, so like I would never be in line there. I'm
You
just
want to
like
make sure when it comes to Indiana what it's going to look like.
I want to get ready for the traffic flow and stuff like that. So I go over there to check out like the parking lot and just stuff like that. And there's people lined up down
Busy.
the damn street. So then I drove over to Mission, which is another one in Chicago, to check out the traffic and the line and line out the door.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
and by the way,
Popular places.
that one got looted like 3
Yeah, it
days
did.
before my
Yeah, it
election, that was a shitty week for me, man.
Well, you know what? Let's just reset here before we get in to talk to Drew about a million things. Because if we don't talk about why we're here and everything else, we'll never forget. So, Lindsay, you want to go ahead and do our intro?
Cheers. Thank you
This is
very much.
we already did that, but
We
we're doing
didn't
it
cheers.
again.
We didn't do an official cheers.
Yeah,
we didn't do
I
an
thought we
official
did.
cheers.
Didn't we,
Cheers.
John? I
We
think
It
did.
wasn't
did.
not an official.
Cheers,
You have to
John.
figure. This is to 18th Street Brewery, an amazing brewery run by an amazing person. Welcome to Left of Center, Drew Fox,
Thank you.
CEO.
Cheers.
Good to
Take
see
it
you,
away,
sir.
Lindsay.
Oh, Lindsay's jumping in already.
Yeah, well, we have
Lindsay,
to
did
do
you get
our...
one of these? Oh, you have school today? My bad.
John, I'm afraid,
I
like...
do not have school today. I have Fridays off. Thank you very much.
Well,
Oh, then
Where's your-
you should probably try one of these. Then.
Yeah.
Like, I'm afraid...
Lindsay could tear up
I
a
have
vodka
4
soda.
beverages here. Already. I got water and 2 coffees because Drew didn't want his, so I'm definitely going to
Tom cracked like a can, and like everything's gone haywire now. It's like, what do you mean we're doing?
Listen, right
what
off
do you
the
mean
bat.
we're doing Lindsay right
Listen,
now?
technically,
There's
Drew
a lot
put it
of
in front of
damage
me.
control
Hey.
for me
How
right
rude
now.
would that be if we didn't drink it?
It's like gone off the rails.
It's all right. It's all right.
You know what? I do have a bit of a bone to pick
Uh-oh.
for Tuesday's episode.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we were ripping on Lindsay. In the
They were
F-Central.
joking that I wasn't here because I was sleeping, but I was being a scholar.
Oh,
I was doing class stuff,
Allegedly.
and you're just a hater. So,
Come on, that's the way we roll on this show.
all right, you guys ready?
We're ready, Linz.
All right, excellent. You're listening to Left of Center, where we cover everything from politics to important events of the day in the Midwest and the region, all while trying to have a little too much fun while doing it. If you can't get enough of us, follow us on Facebook at Left of Center Podcast or on Twitter at LockPod, LOCPOD. If you can't listen in live, download our episodes from the Apple Podcast app or Spotify app and enjoy our show at a crystal clear 223 kilohertz per second. Just search Left of Center and look for our red and blue logo. Also, I'm going to add this here without getting it approved, sorry. If you want to sponsor us, if you want to hear us sing your praises, if you want to reach roughly 150 people per episode, contact me, Lindsay McDermott, on Facebook.
Thousands.
If you want to reach 5 people per
that's
episode,
150 people.
I was like, whoa. You're just like, I'm
We get
out.
roughly
I'm
like-
outta here.
150. That's it. This is
Well, that's
bullshit.
live. That's
Thank you.
live.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
I
Yeah.
have to specify.
Thousands of people.
We get thousands of people
through
to watch
Spotify.
each episode.
Thousands.
That's right.
Yes. So, but if you want to sponsor us, please contact me on Facebook or directly at our Left of Center podcast Facebook page. I am managing all of it, and if you get a sassy email, I'm sorry, but usually I'm cranky.
Thanks, Linz. How about
Thanks, Linz.
let's go right into sponsors, man.
Lindsay doesn't get paid unless we have sponsors, and we
So-
don't have many sponsors, which means she's
You
not
want to
getting
keep
paid.
Lindsay
I mean,
employed, please.
Yeah, I mean, she's doing this, for free, which is great for us. But
because she loves her father.
yes, I mean, plus I force her. So
I mean, she also called you a hater 30 seconds ago. So, I mean,
that was a
it's
good
somewhere
show,
in
though.
between.
At least
That
she's
was a
being
good
honest.
She is, All right, let's go. Attorney Alfredo Estrada at Burke, Costanza, and Carberry. With locations in Maryville and Chicago, Alfredo is one of the most experienced lawyers in the area of immigration and civil litigation. He is also available at the Hammond Legal Aid Clinic to help with DACA immigration issues. Call Alfredo at 219-769-1313. Adelante con Alfredo.
Joey Lack Salinas Photography. Are you looking for a unique and original piece of art for your home or office? Joey Lack Salinas has been photographing the region for more than 15 years and has the largest collection of Northwest Indiana photos available to the public. He is also a licensed photographer for Indiana University and has over 500 photos of the Bloomington campus. Photos are available for purchase as prints, framed fine art, and can be licensed for commercial use. You can find Joey's photos at southshorephotos.com, that's southshorephotos.com, and campuspictures.com for the IU photos. You can follow him on Instagram at Joey Lack Salinas or like his Facebook page, Joey Lack Salinas Photography, and Lax is L-A-X.
Bob's Plastering and Painting. Bob's Plastering and Painting provides professional, affordable, and reliable plastering and painting services with over 30 years of experience. We are licensed, bonded, and insured. Call today to schedule a free estimate at 219-616-6609. Check out before and after pictures at www.bobsplasteringandpainting.com.
Bob was at my house this week.
Really?
Working on a plastering.
Nice.
Yes. It's going to be fun.
Lindsay thanks him for...
He was there. He's great. All right, Ron Prestemer Insurance Agency. If you're looking for insurance, go to the Ron J. Prestemer Insurance Agency located on the best end of the boulevard in Hammond, Indiana. They specialize in a wide variety of insurance products, including auto, home, life, health, business, and much more. Currently, the Ron J. Prestemer Insurance Agency serves the insurance needs of over 1,000 individuals and 300 business concerns in Northwest Indiana and all over the Chicagoland area. Give Ron Prestemer a call.
All right, last, Tortillas Nuevo Leon. Nuevo Leon has been the region's tortilla brand since 1975. They make delicious flour and corn tortillas as well as crispy nacho chips that you will find all over the Chicagoland area. Look for their popular red and white label. Visit the website at tortillasnuevoleon.com for more information.
All right, those are some of our sponsors. We'll come back with some more. We've got Drew Fox in the house. I think our tweet said Overlord of the 18th
Really?
Street Brewery Empire.
It's outstanding.
Is that,
When I
is that a title you embrace?
I don't know about. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't. The term empire is. Yeah, whatever.
Hey, let's get into some background, Drew, about who you are. You grew up in Chicago, right?
Yep, born and raised in Chicago. I grew
Nice.
up on the west side of Humboldt Park.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What brought you to the region?
You
I grew up in California, so I'm an
Um,
immigrant also to the region.
at the time, me and my former wife wanted to send our kids to private school, and everyone was talking about Bishop No, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And a buddy of mine lived in East Chicago, and he says, "Dude, you should look at Gary. Houses are cheap." And I was like, "I don't want to move to Gary.
Right.
There's just no way."
Right.
And I convinced my former wife. I'm like, "Hey, you know what? We can buy a house for like $30,000. We could sell our house and use the money to send our kids to school."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we did.
Nice.
Wow.
Did you in the Miller area then, or because I know
No,
that's where
we lived on the west side in Brunswick area.
Okay.
So I lived literally I live literally 3 blocks behind the Gary Airport train station.
Gotcha.
So literally I can walk to the train station and right down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you get downtown.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
So you were working downtown then?
I was working downtown.
Did you have 18th Street at that time, or?
No, I didn't. I was a corporate douchebag at the time.
What-
I
what
worked in hospitality, food
Nice.
and beverage. I mean, I've done that for since I was 16 years old.
Thank
so
God you're not in
30
it
plus
currently.
years.
Obviously, I mean,
I am
right.
currently.
At least you're an owner now. Well, maybe that's even
not,
more pressure.
Not downtown.
Can you imagine, like, if you're in a hotel or something like that?
No, I couldn't. I have a lot of friends right now who are
Out of work?
It's yeah.
That's the most
pretty
devastated industry right now.
That and commercial real estate, probably. I mean, one of the.
Yeah, you're right. Commercial
Yeah.
real estate's going to be brutal, especially downtown, huh?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Drew, I was reading up that you actually started as a home brewery. Is that true?
Yeah. So, I against all odds, everyone's like, well, you can't get a federal approval to brew in a residential property. And so I submitted my TTB paperwork, which is paperwork you need to get a federal license. So I built this, extravagant garage.
You have to have a federal license to brew at home?
Well, you don't really have to,
Right.
but, I wanted to. So I applied for my federal license, and it took forever. And they approved this garage that I built behind my house that allowed me to brew. I think
In
it was
Chicago or in Gary?
in Gary.
In Gary.
And I think it was probably I want to say it was the first federal permit approved for
Get out of
brewing,
here.
in Gary on a residential property. State probably wouldn't approve it, but the federal government did. So
Absolutely
that's
true. Right.
State, federal, trumps whom. It didn't
Right.
make a difference. But and so I pretty much homebrewed every single day.
When is this, like, year-wise?
This was I started the company in 2010, November
Okay.
2010.
So we're only 10 years from when you
Jeez.
started.
Yeah, this
That's
is my
amazing.
It's like a
this is my decade year.
meteoric rise.
That is a crazy meteoric
Yeah.
rise.
So
So you did that for, what, a couple years at home before you... 'cause,
Yeah.
your first store was in the Miller section of Gary,
first,
right?
first pub was in
Right.
Miller in 2013. I signed that lease in end of 2011.
So where's the name 18th Street come from?
So I lived in Pilsen for about 2 years when I was trying to start the brewery, and just I love the neighborhood. It's great. It's inexpensive to live at that time. And I was like, I want to put a bar, on 18th Street.
Is Pilsen, is that where the Riot Fest
Like
is?
Thalia Hall, right?
Thalia Hall.
I love
Thalia
Thalia
Hall.
Hall. That's
Riot
great.
Fest is a little bit further up
Okay.
in the park.
Right.
But, I fell in love with the neighborhood. And it was a dry neighborhood at the time, and so they weren't really...
No kidding.
I mean, they had bars,
Yeah.
but they weren't issuing any more licenses. And so I was like, screw that, give this up. And the alderman at the time was not really in tune with what I was trying to do. And so I was like, all right, screw it. And I've always loved beer. And I said, well, I'll keep the name and use it for something else. And 18th Street Brewery was the brewery popped in my house. You know what? I'm going to do this at some point. And I got tired of working for, the hotel industry it's pretty tough.
So you were working for a hotel?
Yeah, I
then?
was working for a hotel.
Which one?
I'm not going to say.
Okay,
I'm not going to
no
give him any
problem.
credit.
Gotcha.
I like that.
What
I
did you
like
do?
that.
What did you do for him?
I worked in food and beverage management.
Gotcha.
So basically, front of house. I did everything from front desk, restaurant management, to purchasing food and beverage, to running restaurant, and I fell in love with that. Right my freshman year of high school, I worked at the Westin Hotel, and as a banquet houseman.
Freshman in high school?
Yeah,
That's solid.
well,
man.
it was cool because if
You can get a job at 14.
Yeah.
the thing was, if you did, it was called a co-op program. So if you worked like 20 hours a week, you got extra credit. And I played football, and I was horrible academically. And so I was like, man, I need this extra credit. And Mr. Cirillo, I never forget, he saw me in the hallway, and he said, he says, my cousin, we went to the same high school. He's like, oh, you're T. Fox's cousin. I was like, yeah. He was like, you should come see me. I can get you into this work study program.
Wow.
And
Nice.
you can make some money.
Changed your life.
Oh, it really did, because I was a sneakerhead. I love football.
Yeah.
I got to work and buy sneakers, and I got to
Right.
play football.
And you
I
got
got
to
extra
learn a new
credit.
industry. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. It's interesting, right? There's always there's always these people that
Yeah.
come through your life
Like
that just have this, that have done to do something that ends up changing
Yeah.
the direction, right?
He hated me because I skipped this class a lot of times.
At least
So
you got the credit.
I got the credit, and it was really cool. You got paid for showing up for class. So
Yeah.
they would literally
Can't
cut your
beat
check
that,
for showing
right?
up. I was like, this is pretty cool, but I could never make it.
What position in football? Let me guess.
Halfback.
I was going to
say fullback.
I was going to say
Yeah.
corner.
No. I wanted to be running back, but they're like, no, you're not big enough and
Really?
not fast enough. I was fast, but I wasn't big enough.
Yeah. Was it a good football team?
No, I played for Roberto Clemente High School.
Yeah.
No, we sucked.
It's a good baseball school, right?
Yeah, good baseball school,
Yeah.
But no,
Did you play any other sports?
No, I mean, at that point, I was just in tune to playing football and drinking crappy gin before class and doing all the other things you shouldn't have done before.
I grew up in California, so we didn't really drink a lot in school. I mean, there's other things, going on out there, but that's one of the things. One of the interesting things about marijuana versus alcohol, in my opinion, and I know a lot of people feel strongly that America shouldn't be moving in the direction it's moving in, but when I was a kid, it was way easier to get marijuana because you don't get carded than it was to get alcohol. Absolutely. I could not, for the life of me, get alcohol.
Everybody knows there's somebody that has weed.
For sure. They would have it in the school. But, to get booze, you would need to have cooperation with an adult, and that just wasn't happening.
Wait outside the liquor store.
Unlike the north side of the street, we had one of the largest weed dealers on the north side of the street, and the west side of the street where I lived, the second largest weed dealer. So it was
competition is good.
It was prevalent in our neighborhood.
Capitalism.
Yeah,
right.
So and they all got along.
They're having price wars and stuff like that.
So Drew, what do you think was the kind of the thing that went from homebrew to hey man, this might actually be something that I could make a serious career out of?
I went to Belgium. I worked for a hotel that had flight benefits for employees. So you can fly anywhere in the world for $50.
Wow. That's a nice benefit.
Yeah. And so my former wife was like, you know what? I was burned out from working, 20, 15 hours a day in the industry. So, well, why don't you take, a week off and go figure out what you want to do.
And at this point, brewing that's a hobby for you, right?
It wasn't even a thought at that point. It was just so I went to Belgium and I spent a week there and 2 weeks. I mean, almost a full month there, just kept extending it and fell in love with the beer and fell in love with culture. And then I came back home and Blue Moon had just launched in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And there was a bar that all the industry people frequent because you got 50% off if you worked at a hotel or and the bartender was like, you got to really try this. And I was like, oh my God, this is the same thing.
Like with or without an orange or something, right?
It was always with an orange.
Right.
I'm not a fruit guy in cocktails or anything.
Me neither.
And I tried it and I was like, well, this is something similar to what I had in Belgium. And then I started spinning the wheels. I'm like, I can perhaps do this. And so it was years down the road and I got fed up in the industry. You're underpaid and you're severely overworked. And
your salary too, so you're not working right.
And so that year, when I was thinking about this, and I was like, I'm gonna make it my business to do well in the industry. And so I started, creating friends in the hotel industry and talking about beer and spirits. And I got a job as a food and beverage manager at a hotel, and it allowed me to purchase product. And so I met with all the, the distributors at that time, and Summit Brewing was in Wisconsin, and they came in and like, hey, who's buying all this beer at this hotel? Mm-hmm. It was predominantly Bud Light.
Yeah. And
they came in and they're like, hey, man, you're buying a lot of our product. Mm-hmm. Let's partner, and how can we grow this beer portfolio in the hotel? And I was like, all right. And so I went to my boss, and he says, this lobby lounge has only done $100,000 a year historically. And he says, what can you do to grow this and make it a lot more money? And I says, well, if you give me free reign, I'm sure we can make $1 million next year.
Wow.
And he says, there's just no way in hell you can do that. And I was like, well, how much are you willing to put in construction and renovate? And he said, I'll put as much money as I have to. And so we were the first hotel to get a patio license, which in Chicago, downtown, and he gave me free reign. He says, you can buy as much as you want and do what you want to do. So our average glass price for a wine was $5. And it's a 5-star hotel, which blew my mind.
$5 for a glass of wine.
And so we went from $5 to $20 a glass, like literally overnight. And we served Bud because a lot of Europeans would come in. We did beer, wine, spirits, and cocktails. And it was in December of that following year. We had an employee banquet, at the end of the year, celebrating, hey, thank you for everything. And they did an employee of the year and employee of the month, and someone who's excelled in that year. And so I won Employee of the Year and Employee of the Month, and we did $1.2 million in business in 1 year.
Out of here.
And you're
Yeah.
like, I
What
can
were
do
the
this.
changes? Just like
We
more.
we were very undervalued for the stature of the hotel, and they brought in a chef who kind of mimicked. He played off the cocktails and played off the beer and played off the wine, and so instead of buying one case and selling it for $5, I was buying anywhere from 70 to 80 cases, and our purchasing director hated me because there was nowhere, and it was the size of this room that I had to put all this stuff in. And he's like, you got to stop buying stuff. I'm like, no, I'm going to buy as much as I can to make margin. And I did. And, he lost the battle because he just couldn't understand what we're trying to do. But it was literally, we did New Year's Eve parties there. We did things that they should have been doing for years to make money.
Is it still doing well, even though you're gone?
I mean, my buddy still works there. I mean, it's been sold several different times. I mean,
So like fast forward, right? You're in Miller.
Yeah.
You got 18th Street. You're out of your garage.
Yep.
You got 18th Street in Miller. Three Floyds is kind of they're like I don't know what you want to call them. They're like they're
the crown.
the standard, right? For breweries that are
in Northwest Indiana for sure.
and right throughout the country, maybe right in
Yeah.
the world, right. So they just like exploded. You've got 18th Street in Miller, and it's got a really good niche. I mean, I remember when it opened or right after. I remember guys saying they were there a lot. It was awesome. Why do you think? What was your success there, and then why did you end up coming to Hammond?
It was. I really think it was really at that time the city really gave us a no vote of confidence.
Well, you're talking Gary.
Yeah, they're like, you're going to fail. You're not going to succeed. And, there were some people in Miller who really supported me, and some people who stood behind the sidelines like, well, there's, you get it. There's always someone coming in with the pipe dream and saying, hey, we're the best thing since sliced white bread. And so they dealt a lot of that. And so I kind of dealt with like having to prove myself over and over. And so there's a core group of people that I was surrounded with the Miller who kind of led me in the right direction. And gave me some feedback on how to tackle some of the bureaucracy. I won't throw names out there, but there are a lot of people who are in the current administration now who were advocates and who pushed me to just fight the fight. And we did. And, there was a lot of red tape because they didn't understand what a brewery was or what a tap room was. There was no written code for it. And so I had to go in and fight all this. Okay, here's what a tap room is. Here's what a brewery is. And here's what it does for the community.
Like educating them.
And so I spent literally,
so
I spent literally a year educating, and then a year, half a year fighting to get it open. And so finally, I threw my hands up, and I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna do it, and they're gonna have to come after me with everything they got, and try to tear me down. And immediately, we opened in the worst winter storm of.
What year is this?
This is in 2013.
Okay.
And so we opened for 2 weeks, and then we originally got shut down for 4 weeks because there was so much snow. I couldn't even get out of my house at the time to get to the brewery. We had beer in the tanks, and I was like, all right, just worried about survival at that point. And Ed, who's our CEO, wasn't our CEO. He was just helping me out at the time. He said, hey, I have a pickup truck. Why don't you use this to try to get around? And I somehow dug this pickup truck out, and I made it to the brewery, and I just started, pulling beers out of the tanks. Like, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. Telling myself this. And so finally, when we got a chance to open back up, it was a little bit. It was in the 2014 at that time, and then people started coming in, tasting the beer. Oh my God, this is great. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it just exploded.
What was the?
We
What was
did.
the cost?
It was the first beer that we did was Hunter. We were contract brewing this beer out of Chicago with 2 brewery friends of ours, and people had tried it, but we did a variation on it, which was Hunter Coffee, and we spent all this time sourcing the best coffee. It was Metropolis Coffee at the time, and then we worked with them to get burlap bags, and so we did this whole entire presentation of this beer. And we sold out in an hour.
I'm a big Hunter fan.
Yeah.
And you had like Hunter. I remember you were like for a while you were doing like Hunter Orange, and you come out with Hunter Chili Pop, whatever it was,
we did
all
everything.
the way down, right?
We
All the
did
way
everything and under the sun because it wasn't being done. And so we really wanted to just basically say, hey, listen, let's try as many variants as we can. And we kept going. And it it exploded. I mean, we got.
And so, in other words, that you think was the one that really put you on the map?
I think that was the one that for sure put us on the map. And then Deal with the Devil, which was our double IPA. But Hunter was the catalyst that put us into the stratosphere.
And you still have Hunter.
We do. We do. There's many variations of what we do in the company.
What do you guys do different? Like, that's the thing, you know.
I mean,
what makes Hunter so special compared to?
It was really, to me, it's named after my son, and it was one of those beers that I think that people talk about, Dark Lord Days being one of those beers that people can have access to, that didn't have access to. Hunter was a beer that you can have access to.
Gotcha.
And it was relatively inexpensive at the time, but it was amazingly good. And we kept at it, and we kept refining and kept making it better and better and better. And some may say we screwed it up by trying to make it better, but we didn't.
Mm-hmm. People bitch all the time, don't they?
Well, I've learned, I learned to get through that.
I guarantee you guys get constant shit.
I can't even imagine. Like, you could do it. Why don't you do this way? Why don't you do it this way?
The way Hunter was originally, they screwed it up.
This isn't the original Hunter.
Yeah. You should have tasted the original Hunter.
I've dealt with that. But
one of the interesting stories about, I think, breweries in Hammond is, like, originally Three Floyd started in Hammond, right across from the fire station, right at former administration.
One of
they lost them before you were mayor.
Before I was mayor, and then we lost him, and now look at what they're doing.
But then on the upside, you ended up getting 18th Street,
right?
You know, and now look at.
I tell you, meeting Drew when they came over from Gary, I was shocked because I knew a lot about 18th Street and Gary. I knew how successful it was, and the fact that you guys were looking in Hammond. I thought we hit the damn jackpot. I think you guys.
I think we did. Look in front of us.
Yeah.
We did.
Right, but seriously, like, imagine now, because I'm hearing the backstory about what Drew's dealing with and Gary trying to educate people, trying to expand, and then when they come to Hammond, we were like fans. Yeah. We're like, you're opening in Hammond,
like,
like
holy
holy
crap,
crap,
coming to Hammond,
dude! Like, you would have thought it was $100 million.
And in downtown Hammond, and in a building that hadn't been used,
I'm telling
and
you.
in an area that needed so much help and like an impetus and something like a spark, and you guys did it.
And it was a lot of that. It was originally me and Ed looking at all these different locations around Northwest Indiana, and a buddy of ours, Bert, was like, Drew, you shouldn't go on these like anymore. He says, because people see you, and it's like, oh my God, I know that guy from somewhere. And they start flipping through the papers, and it's like, oh, that's where he's from. And so, like, the price of a building was like, oh, $30,000, and it went up like $200,000. Like, just sit in the background. We'll bring you pictures, and you kind of pick where you want. And Mark came into the brewery all the time.
Mark McLaughlin.
Mark McLaughlin?
Yeah. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about him.
That's awesome.
And I think
he visits breweries, I believe.
Right now, Mark's at home going, Drew, come on, man.
No, he's like, why do they?
He's in there all the time. Like, it's crazy. He's a very good worker.
And I think Jerome Prince was in the brewery at the time, and he walked over to Mark and said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And
And Jerome at the time was the assessor, right?
He was he was working. I think he was on the council at the time.
Was he a councilman at the time?
Council.
So this is before assessor.
And he was like, "Oh, you know who that guy is?" He was really a big a proponent of ours. And I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, that guy works for City of Hammond." And I was like, "All right, whatever." And I was busy as hell. And he kept coming in, and then he was like, "Hey, man, I hear you guys are looking." I was like, "Where'd you hear that from?" I was like,
"Good job, Mark."
And,
this is a kudos to Mark McLaughlin right now.
Yeah, for sure. And then,
next thing you know, you're there.
But the building that you all bought, too. Yeah. I mean, for me, like in Hammond, it's one of those buildings where you have to do something with it, but like you're thinking, what could I do? This is a big, it's a large building.
37,000 square feet.
Right. The roof is what? I mean,
same square foot as a building.
I think it could probably survive a nuclear bomb. That's how it's built.
It probably can.
It's a all brick.
It's all poured concrete. The whole entire roof, deck, everything's poured concrete.
It's amazing.
When we were looking at the building the year prior, we couldn't even walk through the front door because there was so much stuff.
What was in there? I always heard it was
the Baptist Church used it for their first store procurement. And one of our financial advisors was like, he's like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. I think this is not a good deal. And I remember sitting at a table in Gary, and we were working with the bank, trying to send the deal for this thing. And I was like, I'm not comfortable. I don't want to do this. It was a lot of money. And I remember on Thanksgiving Day, 2014 and 2015, the same guy was like, hey, man, I think you really should have bought that building. And I was like, you're the guy who says we shouldn't have bought the building because of all the issues and blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah. He's like, but you're not going to find anything like that. He goes, that building, if that building were placed in Chicago, let's say, Poston or, Pullman area, you're looking at, $13, $14 million.
Wow.
Jeez.
And I was like, okay.
And
I better go get
obviously big enough to house all the equipment you need to.
At that time, yeah, it was. We thought
now
we hit
it's-
the holy grail,
And now it's not though, right?
No.
Because you're expanding.
the brewery's kicking the distillery out. It's like you guys got to get out of
That's
here.
crazy.
That's awesome.
That is
in
crazy.
5 years.
But
we
you know,
built
so like as mayor, to see these gentlemen, you know, that come over from Gary and bring their business, and then we're like, okay, what do you guys want? And on there,
pretty much.
Right?
and Drew's like, just get out of our way.
Yeah, let us do what we got to do.
Let us do what we got to do.
Think
We're
about
not
that.
asking.
How
I
often
know.
does that happen?
Dude,
I
that's
remember
why-
that meeting.
I remember it too. I'll never forget it. I'm like, I love these guys. You know, like seriously, like you guys were a godsend. At the
Hands
time.
aren't out. They're not
Right.
saying like, give me $1 million.
No, we want this
Nope.
building. We want you guys to get the hell out of the way, and we did.
Well, we didn't say it that way. It was like we're sitting at the meeting. You're like, what do you guys want? And I just simply said, I don't want any red tape. And I says, if you let us build it the way we want to build it, it's going to be something special. And everybody kind of pushed back from the table and crossed their, their arms, and they were like, go ahead. And I was like, provided you get the right permits and everything else. And I was
We
like,
did
all right,
though,
cool.
right?
Yeah, we did. And I
we
was like,
got the hell out of the way.
It's awesome.
And-
And it's a great place. And by the way, for those that don't know, it's on Oakley Street. It's right to the east of the federal courthouse, right off of Douglas Street.
Right to the west of
To
the
west
police
of federal
station.
To the west of,
west of the federal courthouse, east of the.
east of the courthouse, west of the police
Right.
station.
East of the courthouse, west of the police station. And then, by the way, the Hammond Police Department, like you're literally like next door neighbors, and they
I
come
think
over.
there are a lot of fans. There's a
lot of
fans
coffee.
at the-
A lot of coffee in the early days. we left the back door open. The coffee was brewing, man.
One of the great surprises for me too, was obviously excellent beer, obviously great new neighbors, taking an old building, converting it, the restaurant, and opening a restaurant in downtown Hammond is bold, right?
Yeah.
and then to be successful.
highly successful.
blow it out.
And the food is absolutely scrumptious.
Thank you.
And you change it up.
Yeah,
That's what I
we
think is so
do.
cool about it. It's not just like, hey, it's the same menu in January as it is in October.
No.
Right?
No, it's food and beverage. I like to say that if we were doing anything at this day and age, it'd just be a beverage company. You know what I mean? That's what we do well. Food's always been that precursor because it's a requirement from the state. And honestly, we do a great job at it. But this day and age, if I had to pick between the two, I would just be a beverage company.
One of the other unique things I think is interesting, and I couldn't wait to ask you this question, is like there's some significant like heavy metal, or I don't even know if it's heavy metal. It's probably not even heavy metal. That's probably a bad way to
that's
describe it.
definitely- It's like,
I mean, it is.
Is that your
so? Is
music?
that like? Is this like? I really like this, Drew Fox. This is Drew Fox music, or is it just like, oh
No.
man, this is just the vibe and it's good?
It's it's one of those things where I love music, period, and it's one of those things that gets you going in the morning. And
definitely.
Rich, our head brewer, when he first started volunteering, he's like, dude, how can you listen to this crap? And it was either that, and we switched from that to like Miles Davis. From that, we go to like gospel. And then like immediately go back to like just all right, we got to keep going.
Like some serious thrash.
Yeah.
There's some thrashing music going on.
We kind of
in
calmed
that
down a
place.
little bit, My wife Hannah walks in the brewery and she's like, I can only handle so much of this.
5 minutes, 10 minutes,
much-
and it's
like-
got to go down.
Well, if I played your playlist right now, what would be one of the first songs that popped up? Probably.
My playlist, probably Kendrick Lamar right now.
I love Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar is.
I love Kendrick Lamar. My kids got me into that. Lindsay's
That's who got. Yeah,
big
Aiden.
time. I love Kendrick Lamar,
You
but
know,
like my favorite is Drake. I have like a crush on Drake, big time. You don't like
And
Drake?
yeah,
I love
Sorry.
Drew's
Drake.
like,
Why are you looking at me like
Sorry.
that,
I'm with
Linz?
Drew on
Alright.
this one.
I love Drake. I listen to tons
Giving
of
up his
music
age.
too. By the way, when I was a young man, I used to listen to the types of music that you hear at 18th Street Brewery. Like, I used to go to concerts a lot. I still go to concerts a lot. Ozzy and
I mean,
Yeah.
and one of the other things I think that's interesting about the brew pub and the brewery is both the artwork on the labels and the artwork in the brew pub. I mean, it's really, is it one artist? You got a bunch of artists. What's the background on that? I mean,
Yeah,
just
we're-
look at I'm just going to pull this up. I mean,
Yeah,
look at
That
so
is
right?
awesome.
this is Dank Diesel. So Devin Parker, who was an artist we brought on last year, we had one artist for a long time, and did an amazing job for us. And the brand gets to become one dimensional, and you can almost tag like, okay, that's this so and so artist, and we struggled with that for a little bit. And I've always wanted to branch out and use other people that we were in tune with. And so, our original artist went on to do bigger and better things. And so we're like, okay, this is great. So now we can kind of stretch our legs and do different things. But now we probably have about 8 different artists that we work with, which is great. And the brand has definitely changed from just being this hardcore sculpts and devils, and we do stuff that's soft. We do stuff that's, this is a new beer we're dropping today.
John,
it's called,
can you see that? Pretty good. You got a good, yeah, that camera. Yeah.
This new beer we're dropping today is Cradle to the Grave. And
Today, so it hasn't even dropped
yet. It
yet.
hasn't dropped yet. And so this artist we work with is out of Southeast Asia.
Wow.
And he does amazing work. And I was just cruising through Instagram one night, and I was like, oh, I want to get a jacket for a motorcycle that I purchased. And I was like, all right, let me see what's out there. And I saw this guy's work, and I was like, immediately at 2 a.m, I was like, hey, man, I love your stuff. And he's like, I love your beer. And I was like,
awesome.
Boom, here we go.
This is going to be easy.
Awesome.
And so we work with him and
That's awesome, man.
Guy in Indianapolis. We work with a guy in California. So we have this big, wide range of people we can pull from based on beer that we want to brew.
Very cool. Very cool.
You want to go through the halftime, and then we'll start covering some stuff after?
Yeah,
By the way,
absolutely.
I'm doing pretty well on my vodka soda right here. I noticed Kevin hasn't really.
Well, I've been chatting a little bit. I'll drink it while you're doing sponsorships.
Maybe Drew could.
We'll crank something. By the way, that Mexican lager is unbelievable.
Thank you. You can take Rich Mendoza for that.
I can let you know that Eva and Eileen at the mayor's office are big fans of
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Nice. So let's go ahead and do our halftime break right now, and then we'll get back to Drew Fox with 18th Street Brewery after we're done here. Thanks to everybody that's watching, by the way. We have a big crowd, of course. We expected that. I want to remind everybody that you can download and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts.
Just search for Left to Center Podcast.
Lindsay gets paid by the subscription, and, so like, she doesn't got a lot.
I didn't know that was happening.
I don't get
Have
paid
we voted
at all,
on
y'all.
that?
She doesn't.
Thank
I know.
you.
That's what I'm saying.
This is a volunteer effort.
I know. That's what
Labor
I'm
of
saying. We
love.
need more people
Labor
to
of
subscribe.
love
We need more people
for
to
my
subscribe.
father.
Lindsay's,
The hater.
Hey, Lindsay, if you need a
And
job,
yeah, Dad's a hater.
if you need a job, just
See, there
holler
you
at
go.
I'll
me.
hit you up. I was thinking about it. I was like, this podcast isn't
Man,
working
does it
out.
sound so much cooler working for Drew
Yeah, she's
than
like,
this
this
podcast?
I'm a full-time student. I need some cash. So
That's right. That's right. So, all right, let's go. Kyle Dempsey, State Farm Agency. Are you in the market for insurance? Do you want to find an agent you can trust? The Kyle Dempsey State Farm Agency is just that. Kyle's offices are conveniently located in Hammond and in Cherryville. State Farm has new low auto insurance rates as well as great rates for homes, renters, businesses, and even life insurance. Call Kyle Dempsey's office at 219-845-1571 for more info.
John Patalis is your Lake County Auditor. The Lake County Auditor's Office strives to serve the residents and taxpayers of Lake County in multiple ways, including maintaining a working relationship with all Lake County taxing entities to promote public service. Don't forget about John Patalis, your Lake County Auditor.
I just noticed you brought in Show and Tell today.
I didn't bring it in. I just put it there.
Oh, yeah.
Is
that the poster you were using?
No.
Nasty ass.
Seriously. So
he was telling me about a poster. He's like, yeah, when we used those posters when we were kids? I'm like, what the hell were you doing with your poster?
So we were talking about Charlie's Angels.
Your mom's listening. I want to remind you.
She is. This is, believe it or not, my childhood bank. It's got a nice little, right? But I realized that I had papered it with Charlie's Angels stickers when I was a kid.
Know what you're thinking about.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, right.
Cheryl Teagues and others.
Cheryl Teagues.
So there you go. Yeah, there it is. I did bring that in, Mayor. So good call. I think that one says Charlie's New Angel on it.
All right.
All right. It's you.
Committee to elect Adrian Santos. Adrian Santos, the longtime East Chicago City Clerk, is asking for your support. Clerk Santos has years of service to his community and is an elected official that is trustworthy and effective. He has been a loyal public servant for nearly 17 years and asks that you consider continuing to support him into the future. I imagine good things are coming for Adrian, but we appreciate him sponsoring our show.
Thank you, Adrian. Clerk Santos. And last but not least, our friends at Grizzolia's Concrete. I got it. Grizzolia's Concrete. Voted #1 in the region by the Times. Their company is one of the best concrete and masonry contractors in the area and is ready to help with your end of summer projects. Grizzolia's Concrete Work, a well-known, experienced concrete and masonry small business that is fully licensed, bonded, and insured to do your concrete and masonry work all through the state of Indiana. Call them at 219-659-4127, Grizzolia's Concrete.
Check this out.
Thank you to our sponsors.
When Sublime came to Hammond, that's a lifetime pass to their concerts. Isn't that cool?
Put that in your
dope.
pocket and take
Backstage.
off, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I like the motorcycle reference.
Yeah, that was Sublime from Rome. Because I'm a huge Sublime fan. It's one of my favorite groups, and seen them a number of times, and they've played Hammond twice.
So are you giving this to me? Is that what
No,
you're
no,
doing?
actually, funny enough, the reason I'm bringing it up, I just heard this yesterday, is Sublime with Rome's doing a concert in California, and I was thinking about testing this theory. They
Even
told me
during
when they get
COVID.
this, they said you show this at any place we are, and you get automatically backstage.
Man, wouldn't it be like you show up and like
They're
they're
like,
like,
dude,
nah,
Nah,
bro.
get out of here, man. Get the hell out of
Give
here.
those to everybody.
That's number 4 million.
Yeah, like get this crap out of here. So I'm not going to test that theory. So, but they are doing a drive-through concert in California, which
That's
is
pretty dope.
incredible.
That's real cool.
Thank God,
Drive
I
through.
miss
I know.
music.
I
I miss
miss
music.
it.
Same here,
Miss
man.
live music,
Same
man.
here.
Yeah.
Same here.
The streaming stuff is okay, like when they have these live streams. They've been doing some pretty unique stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like being there.
I miss
think
music.
we all know that.
I proposed to my wife. I was like, we were talking about music last week, and I was like, why don't we go to our alderman and say, hey, we'll do a block party in the middle of the street.
Down the middle of the street, yeah.
And we'll pay for the bands, we'll
That's
do everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, we live in, a pretty quiet neighborhood, not many young kids. There's a school literally across the street, and that's all the kids actually we really get outside of Colton. But she's like, yeah, go ahead and propose it. But she's like, what type of music are you going to bring in? And I was like, oh,
Heavy
yeah.
metal, just
Yeah.
like we play at the brewery.
No, we'd be okay. We do some cool stuff.
You do a lot of work with bands like that? I mean, I'm obviously doing the fest for 17 years.
I mean, literally, it's any band that we see that's local that we want to, showcase and have fun with. And we had a manager's really well at procuring bands, and they say, hey, try to listen to this. And I'm like, yeah, bring them in. But now it's COVID, so we don't do any bands. We have the space for it, but obviously we're trying to be responsible in that sense,
Yeah. Hey, let me try that Mexican beer. I want to try that. Do you have another one?
No, this is Hannah's
Okay.
last one.
Which
but
one?
you
Which should I try? Give me. I've had this one before.
Patio Pills.
I love
There you
it.
go.
Yeah,
That's
I've
a
had this one
classic.
before. Yeah.
Hey, Drew, while he's cracking it, one of the
I
things
wanna
that we
try
don't
these
want to
with-
forget is that you also have a distillery, right?
Yep.
And I got to tell you, I love the bourbon. I'm a big fan of the whiskey. But everything there's good. The gin's good. The gin's solid.
The vodka's
Vodka's
solid. I'm a
solid. I mean,
vodka
it is
drinker.
like, I know that Marissa's bought bottles and bottles for gifts. I know
Doesn't
she
make her sound bad. She's a judge.
No,
For
I
God's
think
sake.
those are
Judge-
nice gifts.
She's like, thanks, Kevin.
Those
Like,
are great gifts. I didn't
yeah,
say
she
bought
buys
bottles and bottles for
like,
her own
she, like every
consumption.
2 days she gets a new bottle. It's
I
like-
didn't want to imply she had it in her pocket or anything. She just
She drinks bottles and
She gives
bottles.
great
We're-
gifts,
yeah,
wonderful
of course,
gifts.
Right.
It's funny because it's it's usually upstairs, or someone's like, "Hey, Judge McDermott's in." And I was like, "All right, cool, I'm coming down."
Marissa's
Like,
a huge fan.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the distillery has been great. I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of everything we do.
and I love the feel in there. It's gorgeous.
It's our former art director and his wife and my wife put it together. It was something that I wanted a project that was special and that was more of a that we can showcase the talent and the history of what we're doing. There is not a lot of African American brewers. There's not a lot of African American distilleries. I'm the first African American distillery in the state of Indiana.
Really?
I'm the first African American brewer in the state of Indiana. So,
I mean, does that make you feel good, or does that make you feel like, man, this is BS? We need more of this.
yeah, we do need more of it. And so I'm fortunate enough to be able to showcase what we do. And hands down, I think we're making the best whiskey right now in the region.
I like it.
And I'll be point blank about that.
Good for you.
And we're happy about it, and we're happy to showcase it. And it's one of those things where it's, we talk about COVID, we talk about, bottled cocktails. The support we got, when we were doing the bottled cocktails was enormous. And I think,
I drank one of the Bloody Marys. It was ridiculous.
It speaks for
I
itself.
think I had a
And
Manhattan, maybe. Does that make sense? Was there a Manhattan?
Yeah, we did a Manhattan.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was real good.
But I love making whiskey. And I spent the last decade building an amazing brewery brand and sour brand. Part of my focus is with the new construction is to focus another decade and longer, hopefully, into building amazing spirits for Northwest Indiana. We just don't have enough of that in this region.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to say I'd love to see 18th Street Distillery in every liquor store, in every casino, and every bar in the region, alongside some of our other partners, because we need it.
Yep.
We need to talk more about it. We need to share it. So that's primarily my focus for the next, however long it takes.
Story from the internet says 18th Street needs a mead. Is that?
You into meads?
There's
one of those. Another one like you need to do this.
Dory from the internet.
There's a lot of things we'll focus on, but we're not into mead. I think there's some great mead producers out there. Misbehaving Meads in Valpo, really good people. They're doing a lot of great stuff. So let people do that, and that's a side of the beverage side that we don't want to partake in. We do these two things, three things really well.
And one of the things I think when you open up a distillery, I didn't know about Hammond, but it was a great piece of history, right? That Hammond used to have the number 2 distillery in the country.
It was the second largest distillery in the country at that time. An interesting story is that, last week, me and Katrina, who's our GM in distillery, and now we gave her ownership shares in the company. We looked at there were two companies in Hammond at the time. And so we looked for those old marks to see if they're available because we want to do an heirloom rye whiskey and pay homage to Hammond Distilling Company. And so we're going to do it. That'll probably take some time, but I think looking for the certain heirloom corn, the certain rye they use at that particular time and producing that product and showcasing that to the region would be super cool.
Very cool.
You know where it was, right?
Yeah, 150th and
Right. It was Lily.
Yeah, like
150th
a quarter mile
Yeah.
from where you guys are right now.
It's crazy. I can literally
On
see
the other
it.
side of the river from you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's where
Sanitary.
Yeah.
stores a lot of their stuff. Is there any markers have you been out there? I mean, if you ever need to get out there.
No, we've actually we've seen the site, and if history proves it right, man, if I had all the money in the world, looking at another project, I would put a distillery there because I think it would mean a lot to Hammond, it'd mean a lot to me, and it'd mean a lot to the region to say, hey, listen, we're putting this distillery
exactly
back on the original site where it needs to be. But obviously that's, I'm approaching an age where I got to slow down a little bit.
Well, you are expanding a lot in downtown. You want to talk a little bit because 18th Street started at the building you're at currently, and now you got the distillery, and then you got the Sour Note. We haven't even talked about
the
yet.
old Firestone. I used to get my car fixed.
And
there,
then
man.
now 18th Street just recently purchased a new building for another expansion, including housing, which is. You want to talk a little about that?
Yeah. What does
Sure.
18th Street look like 2 years from now?
Oh man, I'm not worried about 2 years from now. I'm worried about what's happening tomorrow.
Right.
But we purchased a building in Lily right down the street, across from Sour Note, and the land attached to it. And we've been looking at this land for now almost a year and a half, and it's a beautiful building. And I fell in love with it immediately when we purchased Sour Note. I was like, that's a pretty cool building. And so we purchased it, and we're completely out of fermentation space at the distillery now. And so I go, wouldn't it be great to find a location that we can, do all our fermentation, bring some of the beer wash back and distill it, at a current location. And it so happened this building came up, and we looked at it, and we're going back and forth, with the city of Hammond and say, hey, how can we procure this building to make sure that we have a legacy and future for the distillery? And we have another building at another part of Northwest San Diego that we looked at but didn't fit, and this is great. And so we purchased this building literally 4 weeks ago now, and it's going to be all of our fermentation space, additional warehouse space for our barrels, and then we'll put a cocktail bar there, and then the adjacent land would be an outdoor container bar service area because Indiana's weird with stuff like that, and we'll grow botanicals, and we'll have this amazing outdoor patio outside.
Because you're right on the bike path there.
We're
too.
right on the path, and it's right on the corner. I mean, we have the whole entire lot there.
It's a triangle lot.
Triangle lot.
Real cool.
It's beautiful. And
good. Like if I was on the bike path and I wanted to stop by, is it easy to get in?
I think so. You basically have to go north down Oakley, and you'll see it. And so the premise behind that was, and I was talking to my wife about the project prior to us going in. I was like, listen, we stayed at a lot of Airbnbs, and we stayed at some really cool ones. I'm like, why don't we think about putting housing in this building?
And that's exactly what we're looking for down
there. Yeah, and there's two car bays. One would be a studio unit, and the other one, the plans that they have is sketched out now, would be a 2-bedroom unit, which I think eventually, once we get the final plans here in a couple of weeks, will end up being a big 1-bedroom unit. Beautiful, almost floor-to-ceiling windows in that unit. And the building is just gorgeous. It's one of those things where, we own 90,000 square feet of real estate when it comes to buildings. And to me, this one is really our legacy project.
Nice.
It's a beautiful building. It has all the things that we want looking forward in the building. And I think we're going to build it. We're going to do it right. We got a little bit of time to do it and do it right.
Well, we're rolling along here. I know the mayor had a bunch of other topics to hit with you.
No,
and I
think,
it's
what's interesting?
Stuff.
What's occurred since I've been mayor, 17 years, is downtown Hammond seeing the expansion of the Baptist Church. And the Baptist Church owns a lot of real estate downtown Hammond. And now we've seen Drew in 18th Street is starting to buy a lot of property. I find it interesting that, you have a distillery and all its affiliated businesses in the Baptist Church occupying the largest real estate in downtown Hammond. Do you guys have any type of relationship? I mean,
no,
the pastor of the church is amazing.
Yeah.
I imagine he's not a frequent customer, but he's an amazing guy.
We'd like them to be a frequent customer.
I don't know if that would sit well.
They have a big congregation.
Yeah,
there.
right.
We've helped them out in the past. Obviously, they stored their product in our building. We leased space to them, and we helped them out during the crisis and still the crisis with hand sanitizer. I've always said, I wanted an opportunity to do something with real estate, and owning 5417 was a dream. We bought that building outright. We put a lot of money into it.
That's your main building. That's your main building, right?
It's our main building.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And then we had an opportunity to buy Sour Note, because I didn't want to be in a position I was in Gary where that I didn't own the property, and there was no value for putting all the capital into the property. And so me and Ed and our wives, prospectively, and our small group of people, from bankers, lawyers, and financial advisors, say, hey, you really should invest in real estate and own your own property. And so the unique opportunity is here for us, and we see that opportunity grow, every year, every day. And the investments there, with 22 miles outside of Chicago, which is probably the third or fourth largest economy in the Midwest.
I just like going down there and seeing a packed street, a packed parking lot. I know you do too, Mayor. And one of the things you just mentioned,
the main building is always packed.
It's great. I mean, it's just fun to go downtown Hammond and say, like, everyone's like, oh, downtown Hammond, I'll never come back. Downtown Hammond this, downtown Hammond that, and you've proven that. Put a good product in. People want to go hang out.
Absolutely,
and they're going to come.
But you also have to take care of, what's important too. I think we've always done our best to be community based, and through this pandemic, man, we've seen it. And I don't know if it was you I was talking to or Phil Talon, and I says, what do you know about your population here in Hammond? And it was back and forth, and I was like, well, we've seen through our analytics, through all the computer stuff and tracking, that we got people from all over the Midwest, East Chicago, Hammond, Valpo, that came to visit us, through the heart of the pandemic. But it was surprising that we saw this big influx of Hammond residents who were coming in like, oh my God, here you go.
I was surprised when you told me that.
I was shocked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It makes me happy.
And that's important.
That makes
Mayor,
me so happy.
I know you were. Go ahead.
This is something you guys did during the pandemic. That was, you guys were the first. Everybody else started following suit. Was you converted your distillery over to making hand sanitizer instead of making product, and then it seemed as it was a big story at the time locally, and it seemed like within the next couple of weeks, this was replicated across the country multiple times. But in my opinion, you guys were.
I think we were probably maybe the first in the region for sure. Country, no, because I think the people were doing it. Our good friend Bill Walter at Journeyman was doing it, but we just didn't have capacity. We didn't even have capital to do it. And the primary reason we did it was my wife works in the healthcare. She's an ER nurse, and our parents are in their late, early and late 70s. And I was like, we have this newborn, and we got to take care of our parents and the people around us. And everyone just pitched in and said, hey, we're going to make sanitizer, and we're going to do the best we can. And all of a sudden, it just exploded. Where we're like,
nice.
And we gave 95% of that product away. And the difference of that was, hey, the people who could afford to pay for it, we sold a little bit of it. But 95%, we just gave it away.
I know. Hammond Police and Fire were big recipients.
It was from all over the region, all over the, Chicagoland area. It's like, just here, take it. Because, we have a minimal use for it. You have a greater need for it, so let's just go ahead and give it away.
And that was like in the thick.
That was,
and
I
that's when
remember
everybody was
that
scared.
was in the thick of things.
That was like, and you guys, it was a huge story. It was a great story and made me proud.
Yeah, you made that video. I know you went with
that's right.
Drew,
We were doing
Drew and Raven, and
That's right.
And you helped us out with bottles and local sources for grain, and so it was a big deal.
We all
for
pulled
the
together,
region.
but you guys that was a great story.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Jeff from the internet suggests multiple bike racks at the new location for people coming out. Not just a single bike rack, multiple bike racks.
We've ridden our bikes there before. Absolutely.
You know, that's crazy. I try not to be in the brewery on the weekends, but I'm there typically every Saturday or every Sunday. And the amount of bikers on the Monon Trail, you guys have done a great job with that. And yes, we will make the investment in putting additional bike racks in at the current location, at Sour Note, and the new location because it's definitely needed. We probably get about anywhere from 75 to 100 bikers on a weekend, and that's a lot.
And you were in USA Today, I forget the year. I want to say it was like 2017, 2016. Mm-hmm. You were named the best brewery in America.
We're in 2020, so it was
2018 or 19?
2019.
Oh, yeah?
2019.
God dang, man. Where's my life going?
2019.
Yeah. I'm losing my shit.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It was cool. A
lot of voting.
It was a lot of voting. You think people don't recognize who you are, and we've done a great job of building partnerships with our partners locally, but in the States, but also across the country and across the world. So we do well, and I think that was a lot of support from our local fans and our fans across the world. And
one thing we do in the region is vote well.
Yeah, man.
I voted for you like 10 times.
I think we could vote every day, right? You could vote once a day.
I voted a lot.
I voted many times.
I wish I had time to vote.
I had people dedicated to just voting for you, so we deserve. Do you guys get along with all the local brewers, like the Three Floyds? And
yeah, man. I mean, I have a great relationship with the guys at Three Floyds. I mean, again, they're the crown. They're the guys who really put a lot of smaller guys on without wanting anything in return. And we collaborate, whether it be helping someone with cans or lids or just procurement and stuff.
And sometimes you do beers together, right? Like
we did a lot of collaborations last year. Not so many this year, but again, a lot of people helped me get off the ground, and so it was important to share that. And even so now, I probably brew maybe once a quarter if I'm lucky, but I'm still involved in recipe formulation with Rich and his crew.
And you've even done I think collaborations with breweries in Europe. I remember wasn't that the Euro Skinny?
Yeah,
Euro
Skinny
jeans.
jeans.
I got one of those cans.
I got a can in my office.
We miss being in Europe. I mean, McKellar is a great friend of ours, Brewski, and so many others.
What's the biggest difference between a European beer and an American beer? Is it the hops?
I mean, they have access to hops just like we do, but I think it's just the camaraderie and just looking at process of how they do things differently, and just the camaraderie is definitely the important thing. I mean, they look at us, how we do things, and how we excel, and vice versa. So,
I mean, you'll see guys from other breweries at your place all the time. I see trucks outside. I'll see pickups or guys and you guys are all sitting at a table and just
we do the same thing. We do the same thing. It's it's probably one of the only industries I think that has grown to really share knowledge and to help each other grow as much as possible. Through the pandemic, probably not so much because everyone's fighting for survival, and things have kind of tightened up a bit. But there's a tight-knit group of people that we still reach out to and just to say hi, because everyone knows what we're going through. Everyone knows that we have issues, but just pick up the phone and say hi. How are you doing? I don't want to talk about beer. Let's talk about your wife, your kids, and stuff like that, because this part of it, we already know what's happening in the industry. So we talk about dumb stuff.
Hey, we're on the internet.
Dumb shit.
Whatever
we talk
you
about
want.
dumb stuff.
Cuss counter gets to Drew Fox. Thank you for giving this to 3.
He said dumb sh.
Yeah, I don't know. Did that count? All right.
But it's our industry, and I think we've all built that and created just that openness and willing to share what we do. So
You work out? You look good, and
I wish I did. I used to be
really.
What a
Wow,
second.
Yeah,
I would have guessed.
Get a little closer.
Yeah.
No, I can see he's.
Drew, you
in
look good,
shape.
man.
I look at you, and I know you're not working out much. I look at Drew. He looks like he's working out.
It's like Drew, you look good.
Wow.
I
You do
want.
look good. I mean, I've grown close to him over this last hour. So.
I want to. I used to be an avid runner. I used to run 8 miles a day.
Holy crap.
And probably
8
6
more
or
than
7
me.
marathons
Wow.
a year. When I started the brewery in 2015, I ran Chicago Marathon for 4 years straight, and my daily regimen was running 8 miles a day. and I just haven't had time to run. I love running.
What would 8 miles take you?
To the lakefront?
Probably, I work downtown at the time, so I would run from South Monroe, all the way south, all the way up to the Museum of Science Industry and run back. So probably about hour and a half.
That's awesome.
Anywhere from 9 to 8 minutes.
Your legs never got beat up running that much?
I mean, my 2 torn meniscus, but but I didn't really care.
You still run.
I still do it. My wife would probably be like, you shouldn't. You need to like. We have a treadmill. It's a freaking mantle right now.
It's not as
house.
fun though. Treadmill.
No, I love being outside. I love being outside. So I missed that side of
Can I ask you sort of a tough question?
Sure.
You're the CEO.
I'm not CEO. I'm the president.
Okay,
As a
president,
CEO,
I
let's be
apologize.
clear.
Ed's the CEO, overlord,
Ed's the
and we
CEO. Sorry,
Ed, no, he's supposed to say overlord of the empire.
I love that. Well, you're the president and founder of a company that's successful. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of bad shit happening in America nowadays, right? Down in Louisville right now, we have huge protests going on, and like when you get pulled over by a cop, like, are you nervous? I mean, have you been like treated? Because you're an African American and you have amazing credentials and all that, but when you get pulled over, do you like get nervous? Like, have you been treated unprofessionally by police officers? And we call this white privilege. I got pulled over a couple weeks ago in front of City Hall in my Mustang, and I took a selfie because it was funny, right? And then when I posted
also mayoral privilege.
There was, but when I posted it though, the thing that was shocking to me is there was a lot of backlash. Like, you asshole, like
you must,
must be nice. You're getting pulled over.
That's
like, I get pulled
yeah.
over, I get searched, and you get to take a selfie. And I mean, call it white privilege, I guess. I wasn't trying to be offensive. I thought it was funny. I got pulled over, but it made me think about it deeper. And I was just wondering,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be offensive.
Like
it's not being offensive. It's a reality. I've dealt with being called the N-word in my professional life. And,
God, dude, that's...
I've been pulled over multiple times. There's a story I'll never forget. Me and Hannah were downtown applying for our marriage license, and City Hall is kind of weird the way they have it, and they have these weird crosswalks now with flashing lights and whatnot.
Yeah,
so,
right across LaSalle or Clark, I think.
So it was across from the State Building, and so I pull up to this hash street, and I stop. I vividly stop, and there's a cop car that was behind me. He didn't stop, kind of cut me off and went around me to let who either was his wife, we're assuming his wife, or boss out of the car to go in City Hall. And so I kind of backed up and went around him, and because he was blocking the street.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going down the street, and he pulls me over. And I was driving a company car which has Indiana tags on it. And so, I know my rights. Mm-hmm. So he pulls me over, and I'm like, can you tell me why you pulled me over? And he's like, I don't have to tell you anything. I'm like, oh, yes, you do have to tell me why you're pulling me over.
Right.
And he's like, no, I don't. I'm like, yes, you do. And so Hannah's like, just give him your license. But no, I want to know why he's pulling me over. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, you backed up and you went around this, municipal vehicle, and that's against the law. And I was like, well, you blocked off the entire street right? to let your wife out or your boss out, which I think was uncool. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what does my badge say? It says Chicago Police. Mm-hmm. And he goes, oh, you're from Indiana, so you didn't know any better. And I was like, dude, what does it have to do with anything? And I was like, what does it have to do with anything? And I go, you know what? Call your supervisor. I go, you're way out of line. Mm-hmm. I go, you're disrespecting me because I went around you. And there was this heated conversation back and forth, me and him. And he was like, that's the problem with you people.
Get the hell out of here.
And so I was like, okay. So at that point, I was like, call your supervisor right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to deal with this. And so he ended up walking back and giving me my license. He's like, the next time you're in Chicago, you obey our rules of the road. And I said, I guess you didn't really read my license. It says Illinois.
Man. I live on Fullerton.
Mm-hmm. It was the first time I felt really there's definitely racial tension. I grew up in Humboldt Park, which is predominantly Hispanic and African American, and you see these things happening over and over and over. And I saw it in the industry, where you get this, the Caucasian guy gets a raise that is not putting the work in.
You're talking about hospitality industry.
Not putting the work in, and then here are the guys who are putting the work in kind of suffer. And I've never been that guy to talk about it and preach it, but literally, as of late, I've been black shamed recently, and like, well, how come you don't support, this brewery who's done all these great things, or how come you don't support this certain organization? And it's like, I want to support whoever the fuck I want to support. And I don't need someone to tell me or black shame me into supporting someone that I may not necessarily believe in. And quite honestly, does anyone really care who I support? Does anyone really care? Drew Fox or 18th Street Brewery Distillery is supporting this organization. Does anyone really care?
That's a good question. What do you think?
Honestly,
because you obviously, you have a voice. You do, whether you believe it or not.
But I want to express my voice the way I want to express my voice. And I don't want anyone putting that additional added pressure on me to say, you should support this organization or this organization. It's the reverse role. People are being hamstringed, and murdered for some of those same purposes. But now you're trying to tell me and what I should and what I should not do. But you're telling those people they can't walk across the street a certain way without getting a ticket for jaywalking. You're saying you can't say these certain things, or you can't be in a restaurant and be black in a restaurant, or be black in a housing development, or be black in a hotel, or 4 or 5 star hotel. And I don't want that pressure. I want to support who I want to support. I don't need to broadcast who I support. To me, it doesn't matter to the general public. It shouldn't matter to the general public. As long as I know who I support and what I want to support and my beliefs are as an African-American male who's been through this shit over and over, don't put that pressure on us. We have enough issues to worry about. For one, being a black African-American male, that's enough as is. Or being an African-American woman, that's a lot. We get the stigmatism a lot. So let us do what we do, and we don't have to broadcast who we support. To me, at the end of the day, is yes, we have been oppressed for generations. Okay, we've had these things over our head for generations, and we've been hamstringed for generations. The real question is, how do we make meaningful changes going forward, and so it's sustainable change?
Do you see us at a different spot in history now than, let's say, when Ferguson happened or when other things happened? Do you feel that it's different this time?
Yeah, I think it's brought to light that you just can't kill a black man and woman like a dog on the street and get away with it. You just can't do that. And I think we have to talk about that, but we also have to talk about when there are crimes that we commit against each other, that we have to talk about those things. I live in the south side of Chicago, and it pisses me off that people don't get in an uproar about an 8-year-old being killed, or a 7-year-old being killed, about a 5-year-old being killed. And so, those things matter, and we pick 1 or 2 things to talk about, but those babies matter, and we have to talk about those things, and we don't. We pick one thing to focus on, but we're not talking about those real issues. And I'll cut this really short. So, I drive down Stony Island coming in, and I take Skyway in, and I remember at the height of the looting. And this was still broad daylight in the morning. The looting was happening.
You're talking about in early June, right?
Yeah.
Late May, early June, right?
Late May, early June. Right. And I'm looking and seeing this. I'm like, these aren't people coming from the outside community looting. These are people in the community taking advantage of certain situations for whatever the case may be, whether it may be a white-owned, whether it may be Indian-owned. But we can't tear down our own communities because of trying to get the right message across.
I totally agree.
And that was a disheartening part for me living on the south side.
So you think the message gets diluted when you start doing stuff like that?
I think the message is, listen, I'm not a politician, and I'm only seeing it from what I see. Whatever the message is, the message has to be consistent. And I think when the message gets skewed because certain individuals want to take advantage of that, I think it's, in my personal opinion, it's wrong. We only have a certain number of grocery stores on the south side.
Yeah.
And so why would we take that away from our own communities?
Totally agree.
And there may have been some outside influences, but we have to protect that as a whole, as a people who live there, and say, hey, listen, this is important. I was out in front of the brewery. I was protecting the brewery because I was worried that, hey, listen, this is our livelihood. I have 25 people I'm responsible for. And so, I don't want to be told what organization or group I should support. That should be up to me as an individual, and I should have the right to do that how and when I see fit. And I think that goes for every other individual, whether you're Latino, Asian, African American. Let's not force these specific groups on people. Let them pick and choose who they want to support. I think that's important. We don't want to be handcuffed any further in that sense. And I think the message is clear that things need to change. And I'm happy that, we're part of that change. Because we don't talk about it, doesn't mean we're not a part of it.
Seems like the brewery world is, I don't know. I mean, you probably obviously know a lot better than me or the mayor know, but it seems like it is a pretty welcoming. And you said you're the only African American owner of a brewery in Indiana, right?
I was the first African American.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems like a pretty welcoming industry.
Yeah.
Would you characterize it like that? Versus...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first started, you got to work your way in. I mean, and you have to learn a lot about the industry. And again, there's some people in the industry that aren't welcoming. And I've never felt like I wasn't welcome in this industry. I mean, come on, man. I mean, I've traveled, the world and the country, and we talk about these things, and not once has someone said, well, this black man can't walk through my door, or this black man is not welcome. It's been the opposite. It's like, yo, dude, come on in. It's like showing love. And I think that has really kept me centered in so many ways. Like, well, I don't know if I want to go there because I may feel pressure to do not be myself. Never in this industry. I've always been able to be myself.
I want to thank you on behalf of the city of Hammond. I think you're a great guy. You've done a great job for us, and you got a great product, and it's something I'm proud of as mayor. And I know you're proud of it, and you have great people working for you, and you've helped us so many ways. And I just want to say thanks on behalf of the 81,000 people that live in Hammond.
Thank the city of Hammond, thank the region for supporting us for all these years. I mean,
I want to thank you as a whiskey drinker.
We got a bottle right there.
How good your whiskey is, man. Yeah. That's what I want to thank you as. Yeah. But no, this is an unbelievable interview.
By the way, we had a huge crowd the whole time. And
cool.
More than the 150
we have a lot of fans
too.
But
I feel like this was only chapter 1.
I agree, man. It's
like, man, you keep bringing booze, you're welcome back anytime. So
7:30 a.m. Cocktail hour. So
only on a Friday.
That's right. But
thank you, Drew.
Thank you guys for having me. Really
come back
appreciate
again,
it.
please. We'll line this up again, and we'll just keep checking in on you.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe with Son Rich, Raven, or with some
absolutely.
Folks
Bring it down. So
but again, 18th Street Brewery. What's the address in your?
The brewery address is 5417 Oakley Avenue. 5417 Suite number 1 for the distillery. Kind of same building, keeping everything legal. But corner of Douglas and Oakley, and then Sour Note down the street at Fayette and Oakley.
Website, Twitter.
Website 18thstreetbrewery.com, 18thstreetdistillery.com, thesournotbrewing.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
For those of you that aren't aware of the address of the street, it's literally between the federal courthouse and the Hammond Police Department. It's a great location. It's got great food. It's got amazing drinks. It's got great distillery.
Amazing outdoor patio.
That's right. Just off a home and by the hospital.
Amazing outdoor patio. Yeah. Huge.
Really good patio.
Yep. So obviously you're doing well with the outdoor patio during COVID. But again, for everything you've done for Hammond.
Thank you.
And for bringing us drinks this morning. I love the vodka soda, by the way.
Thank you. There's a couple more.
I'm going to grab
those. Don't worry. Those will be gone.
He's
already got his eye on those.
Yeah, but
you'll get one.
I think we gave you one.
Yeah. So anyway, to everybody watching Left to Center, please again subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, or on Apple Podcasts. We need the more the merrier. Thanks to all the people watching. Kevin, you have anything to wrap up with?
No, I just was really impressed with this interview. I loved it. It was great, Drew, to talk beer, talk whiskey, and talk social issues. It was really good.
Really good. I want to thank John Vesmar for being a great producer of our show. Thanks, John, and to Lindsay, the unpaid intern. She's doing an excellent job. Bang for your buck. You can't beat it.
Who do we have coming up Tuesday?
Tuesday. I'm not sure. Who do we got? Here we are. Thanks for pointing that out.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think we have a guest right now, but we're working on it. Thank you.
All right. I thought we had somebody, but all right.
No, but next
in
Friday.
The works.
Next Friday we have so anyway, we'll talk about that later. So,
all right. Everybody have a good weekend.
Thank you, Drew, for coming out. 18th Street Brewery.
Good weekend.
For watching Left to Center, everybody.
Thank you.